What's up, you guys? It's Base Kato and I'm back with another video.
And I live in enough. This blunt, I'm taking a puff. I'm stuck, don't feel like it's us. No trust, so do as you must.
And in today's video, y'all, I'm giving you guys my 1 year update of how it's been like living in Houston. Because y'all, I moved here September 28, 2023, and now today is December 4th, 2024. So it's been over a year and a few months that I've been in Houston. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. I wrote down a lot of questions, also tips and tricks, and just like general questions I feel like somebody would have if they're curious about moving to Houston. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. And y'all, don't mind my voice. I am getting over a cold, so that's why I sound crazy. But let's go ahead and get into it. So I did want to give you guys just quick backstory of how I even ended up in Houston. So before moving to Houston, I was living in Atlanta, which I know Atlanta is like one of the cities like Houston is always compared to. Like Houston and Atlanta like kind of go together, if that makes sense. Like people always compare the two, but me personally, I guess I'm a little bit biased, but I choose Houston over Atlanta. But let me just give you guys the backstory in general. I was in Atlanta at the time. I had just graduated college from Georgia State, and I already had a work from home job, and I knew my lease for my apartment was about to be up in September 2023. So at the time, I was looking at townhomes in Atlanta. I'm not gonna lie, like I always knew like deep down in my heart, like I did want to at least live in a high rise for at least a year or two. So I was like, why would I get a townhome? I feel like I would be taking a step back by getting a high rise afterwards, if that makes sense. So, and honestly too, I'm not gonna lie, like being in Atlanta for as long as I was in Atlanta, like I did go out to all like the clubs and this and the third. Like I networked with a lot of people. So it's like at a certain point, Atlanta did start to feel small. And mind you, this is back in, 2022, 2023. I'm sure Atlanta has grown a lot since then, but still at that time, it just felt small to me because I don't know. I just feel like at a certain point, you start to run into the same people. You do the same stuff. You go to the same places. It was starting to get old to me. So I wanted more for myself. So that's when I started to look elsewhere. And I was thinking about other different cities, but I'm not going to lie. Houston came to mind because, first of all, one of my favorite YouTubers, she moved to Houston recently. And I was like, okay. And then, two, I did go on a girls trip with one of my best friends, and we went to Houston. That was my first time going to Houston, and this is actually in September 2022, so like a whole year before I actually moved to Houston. So I thought about it. So I definitely visited it a few times, like during the weekdays and the weekends, just to see if I can really see myself living in Houston, which that's definitely a tip I would highly recommend. It doesn't matter where you move to. It doesn't matter if it's Houston or West City. Always visit on the weekdays and the weekends just to see if you can really see yourself navigating your daily life in that city. Needless to say, I did see myself living in Houston, so I started looking for an apartment, worked with an apartment locator, signed a lease, moved here, and it was history. So that's pretty much how I ended up moving to Houston in a nutshell. So let's go ahead and get into the notes that I wrote down, y'all, because I wrote down a lot of notes when it comes to moving. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so these talking points are in no particular order, but I just feel like I should address some of these particular points first before others. So let's first get into rent prices and etc., like how much you would expect to pay for a luxury 1-bedroom apartment. So if you're trying to live in the inner loop, so like downtown, midtown, the Galleria area in Houston, you're looking at paying between, I would say, $1,600 to at least $2,600 for a 1-bedroom. And of course, like some places it'll be way more, but for the typical like average person, a 1-bedroom would cost that much to live like in the inner loop. Which honestly, when you first move to Houston, I would highly suggest living in the inner loop just because like you're new to the city, like you want to be close to everything. Like Houston is definitely one of those cities where it's like you definitely need a car to get to anywhere pretty much. So that's why I would recommend at least living in the inner city like your first like 1 to 2 years of moving to Houston. That way you're like in the action, you're able to go to more events, etc. Unless you're the type of person that doesn't want to be in that mix, then I guess moving out to places like Katy, Texas, and like, you know, in the outer loop, Sugarland, like that will be probably the place for you. Oh, and I did want to mention, like, don't sleep on the studio apartments, y'all. Like, I did tour a few studio apartments here in Houston. And I know it's probably, like, everywhere at this point, but I was just new to the whole studio apartment thing, y'all. But most of these studio apartments are literally just one bedrooms. They just have, like, a sliding barn door, but it's, like, a separate room. You just don't have, like, a window. So it's, like, don't sleep on the studio apartments, y'all. Like, you can definitely get a lot of bang for your buck if you're trying to like save on renting, but you still want to have like that luxury apartment experience. Definitely don't sleep on it. And as far as location goes, like if you're the type of person that wants to be close to all the action, like the club scene and this, that, and the third, like the Toyota Center where they post a lot of events, then I would definitely suggest living downtown, even midtown. If you're the type of person that wants to live close to like upscale shopping or like the Galleria Mall, then of course I would suggest living in the Galleria area. I know the Upper Heights or the Heights area, that's a really good area to live in as well. River Oaks. And then if you want to live a little bit further out, like Memorial City in like Spring, Texas, those are nice areas too. Like I see in this one apartment complex called the McKinley. It's like near the Memorial Hospital, I believe. That apartment, it looks nice. Like I probably will never live there, but it looks nice. So yeah, those are really nice areas to look for apartments if you're wondering, okay, where should I be looking for apartments at? Montrose is nice too, or is it Montrose? I don't know how to pronounce that road. The roads in Houston be effed up for real. Like your car is definitely gonna get torn up on the roads here in Houston, but that's another topic for another day. But actually no, for today's video, that's actually a good point to know. Houston will tear your car up, so just beware. But like I said, getting back to the rent prices, like definitely a luxury one-bedroom apartment is gonna run you, like I said, $1,600 to like $2,600 easily. And you do have to factor in like your power bill. People are in line when they say your power bill gets really high during the summertime. Like my power bill increased like by almost like $50 during the summertime, y'all. Now it's the winter time at this point. It's way lower than what it was, but just beware. Like your power bill will definitely be high, so you definitely want to budget for that. As far as like internet and cable goes, like usually the apartment complex, they'll have, you know, whatever provider they offer. They say you can go with a different provider, but honestly just go with what the building provides. Like I know my building provides like AT&T fiber, so like all of the units are hot wired with that, if that makes sense. So it wouldn't make sense for me to get like Comcast Xfinity if all the units have AT&T fiber already. So just beware of that. And also, y'all, let me give you guys some tips on what to look out for whenever you're doing these apartment tours. So first things first, of course, look at the reviews of the apartments on Google and also Yelp. I always look at the reviews, y'all, because some of these apartments, they look nice, but everything that glitters isn't gold. You know that saying, y'all. I mess up sayings all the time, but you know what I'm trying to say. So I would definitely work with an apartment locator, especially if you're not from Houston and you're like out of town, because they do make it easier, like when it comes to scheduling appointments and also showing you like the best when it comes to apartments. But also too, like look on your own as well, because you may find a really good deal that apartment locator isn't trying to show to you. So like definitely do your own research, but it's nice to have an apartment locator because it's free. And two, if you do end up signing a lease with one of the apartments that the apartment locator sends to you, they do give you back like your application fee money. My application fee was $75, so they gave me back $75. And y'all, that $75 hit because I needed it after moving in, which we'll get into that too. But yeah, so that's why I do recommend working with an apartment locator, and they'll be able to help tell you like what areas are good, what areas are not good areas. Like, I would definitely stay away from like Third Ward. Don't go over to that area. Which that's one thing about Houston, like especially when you're trying to get an Airbnb and stuff at Houston, a lot of those Airbnbs be like in the hood, y'all. Like they be in Third Ward and this and the third. Like, don't get an Airbnb out there, y'all. That's a very dangerous area. And then when you guys are actually visiting the apartments, definitely pay attention to the small details. Like actually run the water in the apartment, run the shower water, y'all, because I wish I had did this at this apartment that I'm at now. Like my apartment that I have is really nice, but it's the little things, y'all. Like first of all, the shower here takes like 10 minutes to get hot. Like it's so annoying. And then it's like we have hot water outages all the time. And then too, the water pressure is so low. So the next apartment that I go to, I'm definitely testing out the water pressure when I'm touring the apartment. So that's one thing I would recommend you guys doing. And also too, when you are checking the shower, make sure that the water actually drains properly. Because I noticed that everybody that stays in this apartment complex, we all have the little squeegee things in our shower because the people didn't level the shower floor right. So like shower water always gets like just stuck on the floor, if that makes sense. And it's like you gotta get that water out, so it can't just be sitting there. And it's so annoying that you have to do that, all this money that we pay to live here. But that's neither here nor there. So that's something I would definitely suggest anybody to check whenever they're touring their next apartment. If you are actually looking at high rises, check to see how many elevators the building has. Like, I don't understand why certain apartments think that they can get away with having 40 something floors but only 3 elevators. Because just think, if one elevator is down, y'all, because this has happened here, if one elevator is down, it literally takes like 10-15 minutes to like get on the elevator because everybody's trying to get on the elevator. So you just have to like take that into consideration. Also too, pay attention to like if an elevator is actually down while you're touring the apartment, because that's a bad look too. So if the elevator is down while you're touring, you already know the elevator is going to be down like frequently, if that makes sense, because that shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't be a frequent problem. And if it is a frequent problem, then that's a bad thing. So yeah, pay attention to that. If apartments do charge amenity fee, actually really look at the amenities that the apartment has to offer. Like even the little things. At my apartment, we do pay like a hefty amenity fee, and I'm not gonna lie, it's like the amount of amenities my apartment complex has to offer. I just feel like it doesn't match the amount of money I'm paying, because it's like I kind of think about some of the other apartments that I toured, and I feel like it would be nice to have stuff like a printer station or a free coffee machine. Like, y'all, we gotta pay for our coffee. Well, the first 15 cups are free, and then after that you have to pay. But it's just like, why do we have to pay in general? But I'm gonna always talk about that coffee machine, y'all. We have a convenience market now in our apartment, but you gotta pay for it, and it's like overpriced. So if you're like a gym girly, you know, the type of person that likes to work out, or a gym bro, if you like going to the gym, I would definitely look at the gym. See how much gym equipment the apartment complex has to offer. And two, if you're visiting the gym during its peak hours, like really see if you can envision yourself working out at the apartment's gym. Because I will say with my apartment gym, when I first visited, I guess I was just distracted by like the glitz and glam, because this was my first apartment I was ever paying by myself. Like I was doing everything by myself, so it felt really empowering. So I was so excited. So I just wasn't really paying attention to the small things. Although my apartment gym is nice, it's nice for only one person. Like once 2, 3, 4 people get to the gym, it's like it becomes overcrowded super quick. And then 2, we don't really have enough machines. Like it looks like we have a lot of machines until you really start working out, and then it's just like, damn, we don't have a lot of machines. And I have seen certain high rises here that have better gyms than my apartment gym. So that's something to keep in mind if like the gym is really important to you. Like the gym is important to me. It's a part of my routine. So that's something that I do kind of hate, but it's whatever. One thing too is, Houston does have hurricanes, y'all. So I would ask if you can. Like some leasing agents don't know, but I would ask if the building has like a backup generator, or like when a hurricane comes, does the power normally go out? And if you're close to the medical center, maybe ask if the building is on the same power grid as a hospital, because that's a good thing if it is, because if it's on the same grid as the hospital, you more than likely will not have to deal with power outages as much. Like I will say my building for Hurricane Barrel, like every other high rise, their power went out. But ours didn't. Like our power never went out, and we didn't have a backup generator either, because the power never like went off for a second and then kicked back on. So I don't know what power grid we're on, but it's solid over here. That's mainly the only reason why I re-signed my lease, y'all. But it's the little things. I'm just like, ugh. And speaking of signing the lease, you guys, so make sure when you sign your lease, definitely make sure you actually looked at the exact unit that you're going to live in before you sign your lease, because these apartments be grimy. Like I hate when apartments, they show you one unit but you're signing the lease for another type of unit, and it's like the apartment leasing specialist, like they never really describe it correctly. Like they always make it seem like, oh, it's the same thing, it's just that you're only losing like this much closet space, when it's like, no, in reality you're losing a lot of space and it's an awkward setup. You don't want to do that. So definitely look at your exact unit in person. And if you can't, I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but it's just like beware. Just know what you're signing up for. This is the one thing I wish I knew, or I was naive about, but when I first moved to my apartment complex, I moved September 28th. So technically it was the end of the month, right? So I did have to pay prorated rent for September and then full rent for October, all at the same time, you guys. And here's the thing, I couldn't pay it with my card or anything. You have to use a check as like your first payment. I don't know if that's at every apartment, every high rise, but that's how it was at my apartment. So I was scrambling, y'all, because I did not have my car in Houston at the time. It was still in Atlanta because I was waiting on it to get shipped here. So I had to take an Uber to Wells Fargo, get a check. I was not expecting to pay that much money that day, y'all. Like I paid so much money that day. I was literally eating noodles for like the rest of the week. But then I got that application fee back from my apartment locator. So that $75 hit, y'all. I was like, ooh, I can get something nice, but don't do that. So that leads into like my next little segment. I would definitely save up like more than $5,000 when it comes to moving. Like I only saved up, you guys, like probably like $5,000 something. Like I did not save up that much money. But I will say I was paying on my move like every couple of months. Like I was paying for like the U-Haul because I didn't want to get scammed by any of these moving companies out here, y'all. And I didn't know what was the best moving company to go with. I wanted to go with a moving company that was like cheap but good quality at the same time, if that makes sense. And I did not know with U-Haul they offer this U-Box method. I know I've talked about this in my first moving to Houston video, but I'm gonna mention it again. So I did the U-box container method, and I only ordered one box. So it pretty much only cost me $1,700 to move, which was really good because I believe the container was like $1,300. It may have been cheaper than that, and then I did pay for movers through the U-Haul app. Because U-Haul, I guess they have their own like third-party moving companies that they work with. So I just felt like I felt safer or more comfortable going through U-Haul as opposed to like these random moving brokerage firms, because those are the type of companies that scam you. And I felt like at least if I got scammed by U-Haul, like U-Haul, we have some type of central authority that could help me get my money back. So that's why I went with them. But it worked out perfectly, y'all. So I packed my own stuff, and then I just had the U-Haul people actually pack the container for me, and they shipped the container out. And it took like 8 days for the container to get from Atlanta to Houston. And then I already had movers here in Houston, so they unloaded all the boxes for me, and that was that. So I would definitely suggest doing the U-box method if you're moving by yourself. You can order more than just one container. Like if you have a lot of stuff that you're moving, they have different size containers, I believe. Either it's different size containers or you can just order more containers. But either way, that was the most cost-effective way for me to move. And then as far as like my car, looking back, sometimes I think like, did I make the right decision or did I not? Like I keep thinking about it to this day, y'all, but I don't know. You guys tell me, but pretty much I did ship my car to Houston. And I don't know why I waited like 3 weeks to ship my car. Because to be honest, the amount of money I spent on like Uber, Instacart, this, that, and third, it's kind of like I should have just drove my car to Houston, if that makes sense. But the reason why I didn't want to drive my car from Atlanta to Houston is because, first of all, I didn't want to put that mileage in my car because I knew as soon as I got to Houston, a whole bunch of like service lights would probably be coming on. So I did not want to experience that. And then two, I just thought it would be easier and cheaper to just ship my car. I used Shipley to ship my car out. And it only cost $500 and like 3 cents, or like it was $503 total for me to ship my car from Atlanta to Houston. And the guy was quick. He picked up my car like the day before and it was there the next day, like within 12 hours. So like he must have been hauling ass. But yeah, so I used Shipley to ship my car, and I'm thinking, did I make the right decision or should I have just driven my car? But I think I did make the right decision by just using Shipley, and I would highly recommend using Shipley as well. It is kind of like a weird website because it's like different brokers trying to give you quotes in this, that, and third. It's like how much it would cost to ship out a car with them. But it is nice. You get like different types of quotes. Like you can get an enclosed trailer. You can be put on an 18-wheeler. You can be put on a single carrier trailer, this, that, and the third. So I just went with the cheapest option and it worked out. My car is safe, no scratches, so it's all good. But needless to say, y'all, I did want to say that it is okay to receive help, because I will say at that time, like my parents, especially my dad, he was definitely, offering help. Like he was saying, we can rent out like a U-Haul truck and, we can drive on down from Atlanta to Houston together. And like a part of me sometimes wishes that I did take that route. But it's like at the same time, at that point in my life, it was like I was going through a transitioning phase where it's like I wanted to see if I could really do things on my own without any help. And so that's what I did. Like I moved out here without any help and I'm still surviving. Like I'm still doing good. So it all worked out. I will say some months I was like, whoo, I don't know, but we we made it through. We're making it through. So I'm really happy about that. I definitely don't regret moving to Houston. Like, I love it out here. I know people ask me all the time, like, do you like Houston over Atlanta? And me personally, I do like Houston over Atlanta, but I'm a little bit biased because, like I said earlier, like, I am from Georgia. So it's kind of like, since I'm from Georgia, I just never really understood the hype behind Atlanta because I don't know, I just always saw Atlanta as, oh, it's Atlanta, you know? But for other people, they see it as a city where they're ready to chase their dreams, go out, meet people, socialize, have fun. And I will say Atlanta is a fun city, but like how I said in the beginning of the video, I did everything. I feel like I went to all the clubs, I've met a lot of people, I feel like I've been to a lot of places. It's kind of like at a certain point, I feel like I've driven down every road. Like, it was like at a certain point, I just felt like Atlanta was becoming too small for me. And it is kind of like a small city, y'all. Like, once you go out so much, like, you do start to see the same people. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. And who knows, Houston may be the same way for me, you know, in time. But it's just like in this particular moment right now, Houston is definitely just seems way bigger than Atlanta to me. I'm still exploring Houston, and I've been here for like a year, some change, and it's like I still feel so new. Like, I live close to downtown, and it's like I still feel like I haven't even seen all of downtown. Like, you know what I'm saying? I haven't seen all of Midtown. It's like, but I live here, like, you know? And Houston has so many like good food restaurants. Like, Atlanta has like food restaurants or whatever, but Houston, like, you gotta be careful. Like, that's why I've been getting back into the gym heavy, y'all, because the food here is so good, you'll never go hungry. And it's not that expensive either. Like, a lot of the good places are really affordable. That's another thing about Texas. Like, I will say Texas is definitely an affordable state to live in. So you don't pay like state income taxes, so your paycheck is higher here. Like, my paycheck definitely increased when I moved to Texas. So that was a plus. But of course, if you're gonna buy a house, like, you gotta think about property taxes because you're gonna pay a lot when it comes to that. But yeah, Texas is definitely an affordable state to live in. The grocery stores, like HEB, is definitely an affordable, great grocery store to go to. Like, you will love that place because I love that place. I do feel like it's more opportunity here in Houston. I will say though, the energy and oil industry is very big in Houston. Definitely. So if you're looking for a job in that type of industry, Houston is the city for you. I did want to mention a few like miscellaneous like tips or like advice or like just things that I've noticed since living here. Definitely make sure you're aware of your surroundings, and to be honest, you should be doing that in any situation that you're in. It doesn't matter if you're in Houston, Atlanta, or anywhere on this planet. You should always be aware of your surroundings, but definitely in Houston, y'all, because Houston, I mean, it is a nice city to live in, but certain parts I would not, you know, I wouldn't bother even driving through. Like, Third Ward. I keep mentioning Third Ward, but Third Ward is like a rough area. Although I would say, like, if you go to some of the clubs that's on Alameda Road, like 5015, that's a nice club to go to, because they don't charge cover, and it's a nice vibe. So that's kind of in that area, but that's a decent area. If you do go to that area or just anywhere downtown, midtown, I would not drive my car there at all because like break-ins happen so frequently, y'all. It's crazy. It's like every day, honestly. Like, you'll see glass on the road all the time. That's why I don't even understand why people even still drive to these clubs anymore. It's like you might as well just Uber. That's why I do suggest living downtown or midtown if like that's your type of vibe, like you want to be outside, going out and stuff, because it is cheaper to get an Uber if you live downtown compared to like if you live all the way out in Katy, Texas. Like an Uber would be like 50 something dollars. But yeah, also too, car theft, y'all. Like, they definitely steal cars out here. Someone that I know got his car stolen here. I actually said it in one of my like YouTube vlogs like a few months back, if you watched that vlog. But yeah, they steal cars here in Houston, y'all. So make sure you have some type of like anti-theft stuff installed on your car, or if you drive like a foreign car, like a European car like Mercedes or whatever, then you don't have to worry about that, but you do have to worry about break-ins. So just beware. Always be on your P's and Q's. Also, this is random, but one thing that I didn't notice until I moved to Texas was the liquor laws. Like, I did not know Texas was so behind. Like, okay, so you can't buy liquor on Sundays at all. You can buy like beer and wine, but you can't buy like hard liquor. And then on the weekdays, you can't buy liquor after 9 p.m. I'm like, okay. The clubs and stuff, they can sell liquor, of course, but you can't go to Specs or like a liquor store and buy liquor after a certain point. So they're pretty strict on their liquor laws. But I will say, to get around that, like if you do want to drink, like of course you can go to a restaurant, the club, but there are daiquiri places like all over Houston. You can get you a really good daiquiri, like a daiquiri to go. Tell them to put an extra shot of like whatever alcohol you chose. Like usually I do pina colada and I get like an extra shot of tequila. Y'all, and daiquiri places can get you lit, so don't sleep on them. And this is another random topic that I wanted to like talk about more, but I did want to talk more about living in a high rise and like the pros and cons. And honestly, I'm just going off of the top of my head when I'm talking about this at the moment, y'all. But I did want to say, like, I feel like everything happens for a reason. Like, I am glad that when I moved here, I didn't move into a townhome first. I didn't move way out in Katy, Texas, and this, that, and third. Like, I stayed in the inner city, and I decided to live in a high rise. And I'm so glad that I did that, because I feel like when you move to a new city, the best place you can live in your first year would be a high rise, because high rises or just apartments in general, they do host a lot of events. I don't know about the mid rises and like the low rise apartments, but I know high rises, they have events all the time. So my apartment, we have events like once a month, and pretty much at the events you get a chance to meet new people, meet your neighbors, meet people who don't even live in the building but like know people in the building. It's a great way to network. Like, I know me, I've met so many people in my apartment building alone. I will say some people have said that like if you're the type of person where it's hard for you to meet friends, like you can download Bumble or like those other friend meeting apps. That is cool and all, but I will say I would be careful, because I don't know, like I feel like I have a bad impression of Bumble, y'all, but I don't know. I just feel like meeting friends organically is the best way to navigate through life. And it's okay to be alone and not have friends. Like, sometimes it's okay to be alone and be comfortable with being by yourself. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that, because you get to learn more about yourself. You get to do things that you want to do, because nobody is taking up your time. So you're able to be selfish with your own time. You're also able to just figure things out. Like, all I'm saying is, it's not a bad thing to have your period of isolation. Now, you don't want to isolate yourself too much. You're in a new city. Definitely get out, explore, meet people. And I know somebody is probably going to ask me, like, have I, like, met friends here and stuff? So, yeah, through my building and stuff, I have met people. And also just being out and about in Houston, I have met certain people. But I will say, like, I still haven't found my core group of friends here in Houston yet. But that's fine with me, because it's like I do have my core group of friends anyways at home, like in Georgia and Alabama. But I'm okay with not having a core group of friends here just yet, because I feel like it does take at least 2 to 3 years for you to really develop that type of friend group anywhere. So it's not just Houston, just anywhere. So to build that type of community, it just takes a minute, because you gotta use discernment when it comes to like filtering people out, like who's real, who's fake, who's worth the time, who's not. You know what I mean? So it doesn't just come like that. But anyways, back to like the pros and cons of living in a high-rise. So yes, I do feel like it's easier to meet friends in a high-rise as compared to like if I lived in a regular apartment complex, because I didn't really meet a lot of people in my other 2 apartment complexes that I lived in when I was in Atlanta. But I'm not sure if it's because it wasn't a high-rise or if it was because I was just being antisocial. But to be honest, like, they didn't throw events like how this apartment complex that I live in does. So that's definitely a factor. And then with high rises too, it is easy to network, or like easier to network, because it's like you already know, like whoever lives in this high rise, like they gotta have something going on. Like you can't just have like nothing going on. Like you have to actually have a job, or like pay stubs, this, that, and the third, because a lot of these high rises, like you can't just pay cash for the unit. Like they don't accept cash, they don't accept certain things. So it's like you have to show that you're earning income in a particular way. So I feel like high rises in general just attract a certain type of crowd, whether that's good or bad, but I feel like it does attract a certain type of crowd and kind of sift through the people that, you know, shouldn't be in a high rise. I don't want to say like that, like, because that sounds so bad, but I'm just saying, like, that's just how life works. You have to be rolling a little bit to be living in some of these high rises. So it's definitely a good way to network, because I have been able to, I guess, be introduced to people who are working in different job fields or with different companies that I may one day eventually work with. So you never know. Some of the cons of these high rises are, of course, some of them are definitely overpriced. Some of the problems that I'm having with my apartment, I'm just like, I've never had this issue at any apartment complex I've ever had. Like, I've never had to worry about just certain things, which I can't even like get into full details just yet, y'all, but just hear me out. I'm definitely going to make a video about it. It's just the little things that I have to deal with. It's kind of like, damn, like I wish I was in a mid-rise or like a low-rise apartment at this point, because I wouldn't have to deal with half of these issues that I'm dealing with. Like low water pressure, like we have low water pressure, like that's just how the building is made. And it's just like, or like waiting 10 minutes for the water to heat up. It's like, why does it take 10 minutes for the shower water to heat up? You know what I'm saying? And like that does kind of run up your water bill over time. So you just gotta think about the little things. So that is kind of a con with a lot of these high-rise buildings in Houston. Like a lot of these new high-rise buildings, they were like thrown up really fast, like in 2020, like around that time. They look nice, but the infrastructure isn't the best. So yeah, that's the one thing I will say about a lot of the high-rises here in Houston. Like the infrastructure just isn't the best. So some are really nice, but you gotta pay a lot for those. And then the other ones that aren't as cheap but aren't super expensive, it's like the infrastructure still isn't like, you know, the best. So just beware. That's why I always say read the reviews when it comes to these high rises. Alright y'all, I feel like this video was low-key all over the place, but at the same time I do feel like I touched on a lot of topics. So I'm just trying to think of like anything else. I know someone's gonna ask me like what apartments do I specifically recommend, and I don't want to give specifics because I know I'm gonna probably be moving within the next year, and it's kind of like some of the apartments I would probably tell you guys are the ones I'm looking at, so I'm just like, let me hold off. But honestly, just work with an apartment locator. They know like the best apartments here in Houston. Ooh, y'all, my voice is about to go out. Ooh, oh my goodness. Long story short, if you are interested in moving to Houston, I definitely would go for it. I definitely don't regret moving to Houston. I guess I'll end off on this. Even though I already said it earlier in the video, but I'm gonna just end off with saying I definitely don't regret moving to Houston at all. If anything, I feel like I've grown so much since moving here. Mind you, this is like my first apartment that I've ever had to pay for, like 100% myself. Like, and it's just so crazy how everything works out for a reason. When I told you guys earlier in the video about making sure you look at your exact unit before you sign the lease, I didn't look at my exact unit before signing the lease. And when I see my unit, I was like, this is not this. Like, the unit that they showed me was not looking like how the unit I live in now looks. Like, it was a significant difference, y'all. Like, just, it's like the little things I had to go through to get to where I'm at now. It's just like, everything was like a learning lesson. That's why I just wanted to make this video for you guys. But I just feel so powerful. Like, I feel like I can accomplish anything that I put my mind to, and like this move definitely proved that I can do anything that I put my mind to. So I'm definitely proud of myself, and if you're considering moving to Houston, I highly would definitely move to Houston. Like, it is so much fun here. It's something here for everybody to do. Even if you're not interested in like the clubbing scene and this, that, and the third, it's like there's so much other things you can do here. The food is good. They have so many events like rodeo. Rodeo is like one of Houston's like biggest events of the year. It's so much fun, and it's not just a rodeo. It's like a fair. They got concerts. It's all types of stuff. They have events here all the time. Arcade places. Just something for everybody, y'all. Like, something for everybody. But alright, you guys, that's pretty much it for this video. So yes, I've been in Houston for a year and some change now, and those are my tips and tricks, advice on how it's been like moving to Houston. And if you want to move to Houston, this is what I would do, type-ish. So yes, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.